Welcome to Aliens, Anomy, and Arrest Records. I'm Molly.
And I'm Lilica.
And we're two best friends and sociologists.
And we love everything dark and creepy and mysterious. And in this podcast, we talk about true crime and the paranormal, and sometimes both. So, today, we are going to talk about a case that I have no idea if it's true crime. I have no idea if it's paranormal, but we are going to we are going to talk about it, and you have no idea.
I have no idea what's going on.
You don't know this one at all.
So this one's like a reaction in real time.
Yeah, for sure. So we are talking about the case of William McCasland, who is missing currently. He is a missing man from New Mexico. So he's older. I wish I knew how old he was because that would be good information. But he's old enough to be retired from the military. I do think he was in his 60s. So this guy was a retired U.S. Air Force Major General, which is a lot of words, but also an astronautical engineer. And he's been missing since February 27th of 2026.
Oh, so just recently.
Just recently he went missing. So a couple of kind of interesting facts about him is he was the commander of the Air Force Research Lab at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which is a pretty infamous Air Force place, which we'll get into a little bit. But it's there's a whole lot of history and background just on that base. Really interesting guy. He also held the director level positions involved in like space acquisition and special programs at the Pentagon. So he's like doing some stuff that he's probably not allowed to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Definitely top secret clearance kind of stuff.
Right. So he lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He's, like I said, he's been missing since February 27th. He was at last seen, it was like 11 o'clock in the morning. He left his home on foot. So he was an avid hiker. And where his house sits is right next to a system of trails. And he was always out there. He was kind of out there kind of a lot. But he like pretty much always would tell his wife like where he was going. He would always wear his like tracker. What do you call those? The smartwatches?
Oh yeah, like those like Garmin like or whatever.
Yeah, just like a smartwatch. And he did not have his smartwatch. He didn't have his cell phone. He was not wearing his glasses. And just left in a way that was kind of odd. Left all of his stuff there at his house.
So, including like those kind of very personal, like
the things that he would always wear when he just like go out on a hike. Right.
Well, also your glasses.
Yeah, you kind of need to see.
Yeah, right? I mean, yeah.
Now, there were a couple of things that they think that he did bring with him. One was a .38 caliber gun that was missing. A red backpack was missing. And his wallet was also gone. So, his wife called 911 after she realized he was gone and said, just kind of made an off statement, like, I don't think he wants to be found. Now, I think why she said that is because his cell phone and his watch were at home.
So she thinks like she's already kind of making statements that sound like maybe she doesn't, like he might have gone missing of his own volition.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And there was some sort of talk about, like, he did not have, there were no reports of him having dementia. So that, like, they ruled that out very quickly. Like, it wasn't like he got confused and just like, left. Wandered out outside and got lost somewhere. He knew the trail system really well, and they're pretty certain that they know he went out on those trails. Like, that was they knew enough that they were, like, pretty certain he went out on the trails because they spent days, weeks out on these trails to look for him, right? And they ended up issuing a silver alert, right? Like a
Mm-hmm.
for him. But they when they reported him as missing and like used the silver alert, they did so with the medical, like as a medical like concern
Okay.
because he was having brain fog
Okay.
and like short term memory loss sort of things. But if you're like in your 60s or 70s, I feel like
I
I
have brain
know,
fog.
like in our 40s, we're like,
Like, what did we just say?
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like with aging, I
Yeah,
mean, you know,
like short term memory loss and some brain fog seem somewhat normal,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Um, but uh, yeah, so they've looked for this man. They've been all over the trails, and they're fairly certain that they would have found him had he
Mm-hmm.
been on those trails, right? And he had a lot of like people that he knew who would also go on those trails, and so they knew his normal habits. He did go on trails that other people tended not to, just because they were strenuous and stuff. And he, but he was like a very avid. He was in great shape, very avid hiker, going out and doing all of these things. If he had taken his own life, like, because they were concerned about this 38 caliber revolver being missing,
Mm-hmm.
if he had done that and like taken his own life, it seems like they would have absolutely already found him.
Yeah, you think dogs would be able to find him?
Yeah. And he's been missing for so long. Like they've already scoured all of those trails. There's
Yeah.
just like nowhere for him to really go. Like they've done everything that you can do. They had drones out there.
And they're obviously tracking like debit cards or credit
Yeah,
cards
and
or
nothing. Even though his wallet was seems to have been missing,
Mm-hmm.
there's no like movement on his credit cards or anything like that. So they're really not sure, still unsure what has happened to this man, right? But what kind of comes into play, and this is one of those things because he has not been found and there's no definitive answers yet, and hopefully there will be, but um, because he was at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, right? People start making this connection um, because his career at Wright-Patterson was kind of linked to the Roswell incident.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, so there have been people that are in that world of like the paranormal and aliens going, oh, well, he's missing because he got abducted.
Like he was taken.
He was taken. Um, and they're making the argument. There's one guy in particular. It's like making the argument that him being missing is actually like a national crisis, like a risk, because he knows so much about like because he would have to know as his in his position he would have to know everything about all of the things.
So he's afraid that like, is he afraid that like the aliens get him and he gives away secrets to aliens, or just in general, like the fact that he is missing and he knows so much is a national security risk?
Yeah, good question. I don't know. But that this guy has made like the argument, like he knows so much about all of the like alien incidents, the UFO. They actually call it UAP now, not UFO.
Mm-hmm.
But he has all of the insider knowledge on UAPs. So him being missing is like a national security crisis because of his insider knowledge, and it's like classified aerospace info.
I mean, I could see an argument for that.
Yeah, I mean, law enforcement has been like, there's no evidence of that at all, and they're kind of. It seems like law enforcement is saying, well, he was probably suffering from some brain fog, and they're thinking most likely scenario is going to be that, not that he's been abducted by aliens or by like the Russians, and the Russians are who want like.
But like, what about our own government?
Well,
is that a theory? Is this a theory?
for sure. Well, because you think about like every president that has been president for how long has said, "Oh, once I become president, I'll release what I know about
What I
UFOs," and
know.
then nothing comes out.
Absolutely.
Or like the Congress holds sessions about like what people know, right, on UAPs, and people talk about it, and then it's just like, oh well,
Well,
and then it
or
goes away.
like Obama just recently
He did come out and
made a
say,
slip and
yeah,
he was like, they were like, well, do aliens exist? And he's like, yeah. And then later on, kind of backtracked and was like, well, I mean, I was just kind of in the spirit, you know? And I mean, maybe he was. I'm not saying that he wasn't. But that is was a bold statement in the first place from a previous two-term, really well beloved
by
president
most,
by many.
by like a good solid maybe half of the country.
Yeah. And was like, yeah. And he was just really in the face about it.
Yeah,
And
and
then,
it was almost like a whoopsie moment.
well, yeah. And then Trump comes up right out behind it and is like, he shouldn't have said that because it was classified. And you were like, bro.
Yeah, well, then you saying that it's classified just made it less classified.
Literally just said he's right. And then Obama like is like, oh wait, this is, I'm not saying that it's real. I'm just saying.
It's kind of interesting. Um, yeah, and so one of the theories that kind of gets pushed around, right, is that um, because his like the Wright Patterson Air Force Base is there are a lot of theories around it specifically,
Okay.
because it and I don't know, conspiracy theories I suppose are that like it holds like they have pieces of the wreckage from the 40s
Mm.
that were at Roswell, that
Mm-hmm.
they're like housed, that's where it's housed. And people also make claims like there's even more than just the wreckage, like they have actual aliens
Like
there,
bodies.
bodies, they
Mm-hmm.
that yeah. So um him being like kind of in charge of that place for a while, or at least one of the commanding people, I don't know what, but him being like in leadership, right, in this place is kind of a kind of interesting theory,
Yeah.
right? There's also this theory that links his disappearance to an announcement by Trump. So Trump
Interesting.
just a couple of days before William McCasland went missing, um, Trump directed federal agents to release records related to extraterrestrial life. Like right before that. So that's kind of a interesting
That's very
connection there.
interesting. Yeah.
And people are like, well, that happened like right before he went missing, and he was the commander of the Air Force Research Lab at Wright Patterson.
And then he also did space acquisition, which what the hell is space acquisition? Is that like just like colonizing space?
Yeah,
This is really interesting.
yeah. How are we gonna call it? That is really
I mean, how
scary.
you're gonna colonize. I mean, there's all sorts of conversations about, you know, colonizing
Yeah.
space. I mean, now there's whole like fields of law being developed around
Mm-hmm.
space law
Yeah, there are.
with like the preemptive like
we're gonna
we're gonna go in and we're gonna take over, and like how do you claim something for yourself? And so this is really interesting. The fact that I mean, I see how they're jumping from there's this announcement made, he goes missing in a pretty short term time frame.
Yeah. Well, do you know Tom DeLonge from Blink 182?
Yes.
Yeah. So he's like a conspiracy theorist, right? He
Mm-hmm.
loves the To the Stars Academy, and
Mm-hmm.
is just like a really interesting character in all of the alien stuff anyway. Well, the Podesto emails, right, that uh Tom DeLonge, they're like in WikiLeaks,
Mm-hmm.
right? It suggests that Tom DeLonge had connections to William McCasland, and that William McCasland was like one of his informants.
Like sources?
Yeah, for all of the info, conspiracy theories that he had for the aliens and like his UFO stuff.
Has he made comments on
I
that?
haven't seen anything that
Why would he tell
Tom
him?
DeLonge.
Who's going to sit there and say, yeah, that's the dude?
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard that. I do wonder if he has though, because Tom DeLonge, he's a really interesting character in himself.
Just by himself, yeah.
And I think we could talk about. I think he could have his own episode.
Like building a cult, you know? And I mean,
Yeah.
or like building conspiracy theories. And
like today on celebrity cults.
yeah. But that is like fascinating, though. I mean, I think the idea of having an informant from the government, that's not, again, I don't think that's like so out, right,
Yeah.
out of the box. Again, recognizing that conspiracies tend to have some sort of, I would say, proximity to the truth. I don't know that all of them have actual truth, but there's some proximity to truth.
Yeah.
And the idea that kind of gives it credibility is, I mean, look at things like Watergate.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a legitimate source within the U.S. government at the highest level.
Yeah.
And was feeding journalists information and stays a secret for forever. I mean, I don't think that like Deep Throat actually came out and like outed himself until maybe the 2000s, early 2000s or those kind of things. And so is it so far-fetched to think that somebody would, I mean, I don't know why you would do it to like a pop punk singer, but I mean, to each their own. That might be the safest option.
That might be. Like, oh, that guy's crazy anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe so. Yeah, so there are just like a lot of theories around what could possibly be happening. I don't think that very many people would be, um, interested in the case if this guy didn't have some connection to like the Air Force and like his involvement in like the aerospace stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that like those theories get wrapped around that, right?
Absolutely.
But it's interesting just because he's missing. He's older, his gun is missing, but they haven't found his body.
Yeah.
Right? And what I think is the most fascinating theory around this is that people feel like there is like a community of people who feel like he has been recalled by the aliens, like that he knew that they were coming and they somehow communicated to him that he was being abducted, that he was going to be recalled, as they use that term, and that that's why he left with his gun and nothing else. And I was like, why is bro taking his gun?
Like to defend against the recall?
I don't know.
I think there's like a couple things that happen here that we see. I think we probably have to talk about is like the idea of transparency and how the lack of transparency leads to conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Like how are you, these people that exist that have so many secrets and they're existing as a human. They're living very normal lives.
Right.
You have a wife. But you have this career that you can't literally tell anybody about.
Yeah. Right. Like
And then I think the weird comment was by his wife. I think that's the like the telling. Maybe I'm jumping into the conspiracy theory world, but like he doesn't want to be found.
yeah, and to me, I think it probably came from like noticing that his phone is there,
Yeah.
like anything that could be used to track him.
So but like that's the thing. She knows her husband probably better than anybody does.
Yeah, probably.
So she's making the jump to like, it's not, there's no foul play.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no evidence of foul play, is there?
No. No.
I don't know. This one's a stumper because I really do think that a lot of this is like linked to exactly what you said. Would he be such a big deal if he hadn't had the access to this particular base too?
Right.
Like the proximity to the thing that we all want to know more than anything.
Yeah. Well, and then he ends up living so close to where like the most infamous alien crash site is, and just kind of maybe there's some like questionable stuff in that people kind of hold on to that. They're like, oh, he's from New Mexico. Well, Albuquerque, it's kind of far away from Roswell, but it, you know.
But I think New Mexico has a lot of sightings, and
yeah, they do.
You know, southern Colorado into New Mexico has tons of sightings and belief around.
True.
You know, aliens and the paranormal and true crime. Like you said, I think it's like all of these things.
Yeah. But I do also wonder, right, if people are trying to like latch onto any explanation, like why is he gone? Why is he gone? Oh my gosh. Like we use things like the paranormal to explain things away that actually have very logical explanations. And that's really how folklore is built, right? Something happens and people don't understand it, and so they develop some story to explain it. And a lot of times that turns into like an urban legend, or like what we consider a belief in the paranormal, something like that. So I do wonder, like, it's almost easy to be like, oh well, obviously he got abducted by aliens, or obviously some other government wanted him and his knowledge, and so they abducted him, and he just happened to know, like he happened to sense something, figure it out. And so we always kind of go with like the most wild, but that's the thing, is sometimes it is the most wild explanation, right? And who knows what's gonna come from that. But
but also like a total jackass for leaving your freaking wife behind.
Yeah.
Like if you are being recalled and you know you're being recalled and you're like,
maybe he was trying to save her.
I mean, that's cute. I think he's out for himself. I think he's like, they're coming to get me, lady. I'm going out. If they come find you, oh well. That's horrible. I hope she's not watching. I didn't mean it. That was mean. But I mean, but I do think you're right. Like, I think that this is, first of all, it's hard to sit there and say, like, this is it.
Yeah.
And there are things that have happened where, I mean, we used to think that the world is flat. Some still do. We should not think the world's flat, right? But, and they will come up with fantastical reasons, why. And then we discovered, hey, it's not. And then the idea of like, well, we never go to outer space. Like that just feels so out of line. Yeah. And so then we go. Again, people say we haven't. But, I think we all generally as scientists know that we have. And so it's hard sometimes to think about like, maybe this is it. Maybe the mundane is the mundane and it's just normal life.
True.
And then there are like these like anomaly things that happen that, I don't know, make life seem a little bit less mundane and less like you're slaving away. I mean, Karl Marx talked about this all the time. Like, we just slave away.
Yeah. We're just a cog in the wheel.
And we create these like ideas of like, well, it's okay if I'm just doing the mundane, because there's something else, right? There's
Yeah.
something beyond me. There's something whatever. And so I wonder, how much of these things are that? But then also, like, when you've created mystery around things and you haven't been transparent around stuff, and we do know throughout time that our own government has done some pretty shoddy, shady things.
For sure.
Why not question it?
Yeah.
Like, and then I think the question then comes from, like, what's the difference between, like, when does critical thinking go too far? That's not, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, when does critical thinking become, and then when I say critical thinking, like asking questions of, like, why, to moving into, I'll find whatever I can to piece together.
Yeah.
Does that make sense what I'm saying? You're like, no, absolutely not.
No, I think I understand what you mean. There, the human brain is just so fascinating, and like
Yeah.
the collective energy that we create to establish stories is just so fascinating.
Yeah.
And I would be remiss if I did not mention that there is a theory about collective consciousness and the way that, like, everything is socially constructed, right? But that we're manifesting all of this. And again, this is kind of like out there woo woo a little bit, but my my dad would kill me if I did not mention this in this very moment. He's very much on board with, like, this idea of like a collective consciousness that we've built, like, just through thought. We've built things,
Like, we've
right?
manifested energy around
We've
it.
manifested all of these different, like, ideas about, like, and experiences, right? All of this stuff is really just a collection of energy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's out there because of a consciousness that has been created,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it goes so far beyond just the human element. Like, there's something else out there, and, like, there's no clear answer, right? But you start questioning, like, what we know as truth and science when
Yeah.
you get into that. Like, explain the Big Bang Theory. Like, we have, like, pretty solid evidence, we've thought, right? Like, that the Big Bang Theory is true and real, and that's science. But like,
How?
how? I want to know that
Mm-hmm.
before I'm like, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not creationism in the sense of, like, there's a God and God has put people on the earth and God has created, all of this stuff that we know and we understand.
Yeah.
It's beyond that. And it's beyond even, like, our scientific understandings of something that has been created out of nothing,
Yeah.
essentially. I'm not saying that that is right. I'm just saying that it's a really interesting, like, proposition, and I'm very interested in understanding, like, how we may manifest. And we talk about manifestation all the time in the sense of, like, even as silly as, oh, I'm manifesting myself a better life.
Yeah.
But all of the things, it's social construction to some extent.
To some extent.
There's just might be something beyond it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, like, one of the theories, right? That we've manifested all of this stuff. And the fact that we sit here and talk about aliens, and we're talking about all of these, like, paranormal things, and then we're starting to experience them, not you and I specifically.
No, but, like, as people do. Yeah.
And maybe there is, like, a more logical scientific explanation, but maybe it also, if the idea of, like, a collective consciousness is real, if that is something that we should start exploring, right? Then maybe we are kind of creating these things that we would consider paranormal. But as we're also talking about the collective consciousness, and if that is also real, we're feeding into that itself
and making it bigger and bigger.
We're
and bigger.
manifesting that too.
This is, like, actually kind of fascinating. Exactly. And I think that this is something too that, like, how how logical are you willing to be versus how like something I think they'll see like a lot of differences between you and I is like, you know, more logical over here, less logical over here. I'm like, absolutely the aliens took him. you know, but I mean, the idea of also how dismissing people and dismissing their ideas instead of like really hearing them out and trying to offer them other solutions or like really just hearing them out.
Yeah.
How dismissing these people entrenches ideas almost even worse or even more, because I mean, I have so many people that I absolutely love. And I think that they're wonderful humans, but they'll be like, if it has anything to do with the woo woo, if it has anything to do with the weird, if it has anything to do with something that cannot be explained with science, then it just doesn't exist and you're making it up. And I'm like, but there's a whole lot of people that are having these conversations, these discussions, and you're throwing them off to the side and saying,
well, and that's why like I'm so interested in like the paranormal and folklore and the things that people kind of discount. And I did face that when I was researching, when I was doing my research for my master's thesis. Right? I was told not to like look at people who investigated the paranormal. That was my topic. I was really fascinated by it, but people are like, that's not real, so don't look. I'm like, but it is real because people are doing this.
And it's very real for them.
And it is very real for them. And people hold on to that so dearly.
Yeah.
Because it's their life in so many ways. So many people, right? We talked about the last episode, we talked about like ghost adventures.
Yeah.
Right? And those people have made their entire lives around ghost adventures. But before they did that, they were investigating the paranormal. Like before they even had a TV show for it.
Yeah.
Right? And there are thousands, literally thousands in the United States, people who investigate the paranormal. And there are even more people who believe in the paranormal.
Absolutely.
And even more people who are just talking about the paranormal like you and I are. Right? And there is absolutely like scientific, sociological relevance to this. You don't have to believe in the paranormal to talk about the paranormal and to understand that other people have like culture built around this
whole identity. Yeah. And also like, I mean, I think also like how we align these with certain things, the institutions that we believe are credible and institutions we don't. So, we can talk about like aliens and people are like, that doesn't exist. But like, if you have a whole conversation about religion,
people get real.
People
pissed.
are like, that's real. Yeah. Right. And I think dismissing the idea of like a realness to all this is extremely problematic, especially amongst scientists and social scientists, especially. Yeah. The idea of, again, also too, pathologizing, like the idea of, well, those people are just crazy or they're searching for something. It's like, well, their reality is just as real to them as our logical reality is to us.
Absolutely.
And so who's right?
Right. Just because we feel like we've explained it with science doesn't mean shit.
It doesn't mean shit. And again, and I think there is, it's really interesting, even what you brought up about the collective consciousness, because is there something to that? And is there, I mean, is it linked to energy? Is there, a manifestation of this kind of stuff? I mean, I can guarantee you people are going to watch this and they're going to be like, yeah, that stuff happened to me.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot dismiss these things that have happened to me.
Right. And
just because it didn't happen to you doesn't mean, I mean, Lilica and I probably can do a whole entire episode on our parents. and we probably should, so I don't want to give too much away. But I think, we both come from families of highly educated people.
Yeah. But
people who do align themselves with more maybe the mystical or the strange or the,
open-minded open-mindedness.
Absolutely,
sort of.
right?
Yeah.
Like believing in a collective mind. My father absolutely aligned himself with Roswell and the belief of aliens and the belief of like perhaps aliens are walking among us.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are logical reasons and questions about this, but it is strange, and it is, again, I'm sure that people can logically talk about this, but I tend to be pretty critical of institutions too, and because they don't, well, they lie.
They lie
Most of the time.
Yeah.
And so when police officers are looking at me and saying, well, I mean, not me, but I mean, a person, and they're like, well, it's just that he went disappear, and one day we'll find his body, and it's
can't
like,
figure it out. Sorry. Even though there are thousands of people who have disappeared and they've never found them.
well, I mean, I'm not trying to say anything, but like,
I think we need
no shade, but like where I live, the police officers don't have to have a college degree. They can have a high school diploma. No shade. I'm just saying, like, you're going to tell me that there's logical explanations? And I know the school district that you just graduated from. It's like, I know that there's not a lot of, like, ton of critical thinking skills that are happening in that, like, maybe I'm questioning that a little bit. Maybe I'm questioning your reasoning for saying why there's nothing there. And then, of course, the military has consistently, we both have very intimate experiences with the military. And, like, the military has also been very shady.
Very shady.
With information. Our government has actively engaged in hurting humans and our own humans.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen this throughout time with things that are, Tuskegee syphilis experiment is like the one that everybody goes to.
Yeah.
Right? But there's just so many more.
There are so many.
And then of course we have, beyond the military, then we just like have our government who, feels like, especially during this time.
Right.
Doesn't feel like it's very transparent. Feels like it does things on its own. Feels like it does things on a kind of a whim.
Right. With no oversight. Mm-hmm. And I do think that actually leads people into thinking more about things like the paranormal.
Absolutely.
Because it's almost escapism.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, I don't want to think about the president of the United States just like randomly bombing another country and having like no consequences for it.
Mm-hmm.
And no oversight, and everybody's like, oh, well, it's just how it is. And it's like, but anybody else would be hung.
Like, yeah.
How is
if
that
another
happening?
country did that to us,
right.
It would be like a war, they would be war criminals.
Right.
And simultaneously, at the same time, our government is doing that when there's some files out there that don't point to very nice things that are happening. And so, I mean, yeah, like escapism, or are they the ones living in reality of the fact that, like, I'm really asking hard questions about what's being hidden from us, what's known, what's not known.
Right.
If things are just so easy and copacetic and, nothing really is strange out there, then why do you need a top secret clearance if you're in space acquisition?
Right. Right. Why do you need it for anything?
Yeah.
If we can just know everything.
I mean, if it's just like, everything. There's nothing out there.
Right.
If there's, I mean, these are like legitimate questions. And then somebody goes missing. And there's also like a family's hurting.
Right.
And they're searching for answers. And I think it's really hard too when people are like, nothing we can do.
Right.
And it's like, oh, but you can literally like track. I mean, when in all of these episodes that we're going to be talking about, so many of them are like, so they tracked this to this to this to this to this to this to this, and then they found out. And it's like, oh, so you can track me by like my toenail, but you can't
Yeah.
find me when I went missing on a trail?
Right. Right. And there are definitely some things happening with that family, Like, just, and all of the conspiracy theories and stuff that get promoted, just like from people on the internet like us right now.
Yeah,
Like, oh, that guy went missing because of aliens. I don't know that I would want to hear that as a wife. Like,
it's true.
I might be like a little bit offended that people were, or like, even maybe not even offended, but like, can we just stop? Like, my husband is missing. He's been missing for like a month and a half. Like, maybe let's not make wild theories about where he could possibly be. But also, it's really hard not to do that
Yeah.
when we know what our government is capable of.
And your husband lived somewhat of a high profile life.
Right? Well,
Not in like a celebrity type way, but like in a
but
position.
if you are in WikiLeaks with Tom DeLonge's name, you do kind of have some sense of, like, celebrity status.
Yeah, and WikiLeaks has uncovered some things.
It has. And
You know?
I mean, maybe this, maybe not like so much, but who knows?
Who knows? I
Who
mean,
knows?
I mean, am I convinced that he was taken by aliens? I don't know. I mean, I think I would question like why aliens want us. Because if I'm an alien, I would not be picking out the human population. Honest to goodness, too, and like Americans would be the last ones on my list. I would be like,
Nah, we don't need that one.
you know, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to just dismiss people completely in their beliefs.
For sure.
We don't have an answer to this one. This one is like, but again, the social conditions
Have allowed for all sorts of speculation, for people to, make just kind of wild, like, not even accusations, but, have these theories, conspiracy theories. It's an interesting one. And I hope that, like, in not too long, we'll be able to make an update and be like, bro was found. He's fine.
he's not with the aliens.
He's not with the aliens. He just needed to go, like, hang out under a coconut tree for a few weeks by himself.
What happens if this does not age well?
It might not.
And
We might have to delete this episode.
and then he does come back and he's like, yeah, I spent 2 weeks on planet
Zipzorp.
I was yeah, Zipzorp. Absolutely. Like Xenon from that is a millennial nod back to Disney Channel. But I mean, yeah, like what happens then? I don't know. Maybe it will age well, maybe it won't. I don't know. But I think that these are like really great questions that guide everything that we talk about. And I think it's so easy to dismiss people and the way, but we have to recognize why people believe the way that they do, and they do that because we don't make it accessible to, I don't know, maybe I have hope for those people in the future though. Like I'm hoping conspiracy theorists like get us out of the AI slump.
Yeah.
Because they're creative.
So crazy.
I mean, they're like, they're definitely, giving us like some real, and they get evidence.
Yeah.
I mean,
They really are truly the creative mind, and yes, they need to take us out of the AI slump. We just need them to rule the world, be in charge of everything, and then our lives are going to be fixed.
And then we get unicorns back. We don't have the answer. It'll be good. This one's a fascinating one because I could easily be convinced. Because I'm easily convinced into a lot of things.
Pretty much everything.
I could be easily convinced that this dude. I don't know that I would be easily convinced about the being recalled from the aliens. I think more so like, is that sad? I'm like, I think the aliens, governments, absolutely.
But we know governments exist, and we know that they do shady stuff.
Mm-hmm. This would be a good time. Like, if you do have a good conspiracy theory that we need to know about.
Yeah, I want to know. I love conspiracy theories.
I want to know, like, I want to know why you believe it. I want to know the evidence.
Yeah.
All this stuff.
There's so many good ones out there.
Mm-hmm.
We need some we haven't heard.
Yeah.
Before.
Not the ones that are so easily available.
Yeah. Yeah, what's your conspiracy theory?
Yeah. All right.
Well, that was it.
That one's done. See you next time.
Bye.